spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Covenant. When we read that passage, have you ever wondered what exactly a covenant is anyways? Covenants and other sacred agreements are not about perfection, they're about practice. They are solemn promises or vows, sometimes related to a deity, to join together around shared goals. Let me repeat that because it's kind of complicated. A covenant is a solemn promise or vow, possibly related to a deity, to join together around shared goals. Covenants set a tone for all of our work. Across the country, UUs have said that they want more support on how to set tone and culture in relationships in order to sustain them respectfully and well. So week 2 of the Standing on the Side of Love campaign reflects on our covenant practices personally, as congregations, and in our work with external partners for social justice. If we want to be trusted partners in the work of liberation and social justice, we have to build trust through sustained acts towards shared goals, possibly a covenant. In religion, a covenant is a formal pact or agreement made by God with the religious community or with humanity in general. It is central to the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and derived from the biblical covenants, notably Abraham's covenant. In the Quran, covenant of God with Abraham and his obedient descendants has been mentioned as Ahd, A-A-H-D, as a covenant or pledge, and with the children of Israel. In the Hebrew Scriptures, covenant is an agreement or treaty among people or nations, but most memorably, the promises that God extended to humankind, like the promise to Noah, like we talked about before, never to destroy the earth by flood, or the promise to Abraham that his descendants would multiply and inherit the land. God's revelation of the law to Moses on Mount Sinai created a pact between God and Israel as a Sinai covenant. According to Christian traditions, Jesus Christ established a new covenant with God. Islam holds that the last and final covenant was between God and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, for all of humanity till eternity. The doctrine of covenant, it should be studied in the light of the Bible, the Quran, and history. There is a general agreement that prophet and patriarch Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, peace be upon them all, believed and worshiped the same God. This deity is the God of all creations and people. God established his covenant with all humanity, individually as well as collectively through prophets. There is an implied covenant on all created things to follow the law of God, which is the law of their being, but there is a special implied covenant with all prophets, strict and solemn, that they shall carry out their mission, proclaim Allah's truth without fear or favor, and be ever ready in her service in all circumstances. That gives them their position, dignity, and the tremendous responsibility in respect of the people whom they come to instruct and lead to the right path. Covenant is the silk that Unitarian-Universalist congregations, communities, and individuals together in a web of interconnection. The practice of promising to walk together is the precious core of our creedless faith. Covenant is both a noun and a verb. It can be a written agreement among individual community members, promising to behave in certain ways. It can mean to engage in mutual promises with spirit, with other people, and communities. If a congregation or community doesn't have a written covenant, it can make it hard for people to understand and practice how community members should be together. And it can be hard to know what to do when those aspirations fall short. In this way, covenants are like holy signposts that help a group of people know where they are headed and how. Every congregation has covenanted to affirm and promote our principles and practices and to promise one another our mutual trust and support. Beyond these mutual commitments, which each congregation makes when it formally joins the association, it can be hard to know exactly how congregations and communities are called to steward their associational covenant. Although there is evidence of UU worship roots in Protestant Christian liturgical traditions, there is a critical difference between the meaning of UU worship and the meaning understood by other Protestant traditions. There is a difference between worship founded in covenant and worship founded on creeds. This distinction is crucial for our free faith and answers basic questions about how and why we gather. If you have a creed, your beliefs are not fluid. You are committed to what the creed says. It is common for such churches to recite their creed weekly in a service. In his adult curriculum for new members, Reverend Brett Smith states the theological difference concisely. In Orthodox understanding of religious community, creeds like the Apostles' Creed define the center of the church. Theology begins with the nature of God because human nature is known, is essentially depraved or sinful. The most important question is, what is right belief? When someone asks, what does your church believe? They are asking from an orthodox view. It looks back to a time when truth was revealed. Its emphasis is on conforming to a consistent communal understanding of religion, God, Jesus, morality, etc., and communal nouns regarding faith. Consent involves consenting to place oneself under the theological discipline of seeking to understand and adhere to the church's proclamation of belief. Therefore, the basis of community is an individual submission to right belief regarding God as the church has come to know it. End of quote. In the free church understanding of religion, covenant is prominent. Theology begins with the question of human nature. Because the nature of God is unknown, each individual having a different and uniquely direct relationship with God. The most important question is, how do I treat my neighbor, that is, others? When someone asks, what does your church do for and in the world, they are asking a question from a free religious or liberal religious view. It looks ahead to the future because truth unfolds. Its emphasis is on personal integrity and an individual's understanding of the religious and on the development of an individual's faith. Consent is always operative and always shaping the individual because the freedom to explore and understand one's unique and direct relationship with God is the purpose and the aim of spiritual community, of giving one's consent to walk with others. Therefore, the basis of community is an individual's faithfulness to and with others during life conceived as of a spiritual walk with others. Covenants are affirmed in our worship because they represent the foundation upon which our understanding of church rests. Books such as Walking Together by Conrad Wright and Redeeming Time by Walter Hertz have revisited the covenantal foundations of our congressional polity, as have UU leadership and training resources that offer guidance on using covenantal processes to strengthen congressional life. If UU congregations are bound together primarily by the promises we make to each other, rather than by creeds we affirm together, then there is much to command the routine of use of a carefully chosen or compounded statement of covenant in worship. We claim no supernatural authority for the covenants we use in our worship. There are not scriptural texts or creedal statements that claim divine origins or sanctions. They have not been passed down from ecclesiastical hierarchy that claims to represent divine authority. Our covenants come instead from the hearts and minds of our people. They may have been composed and introduced into worship by ministers. They may have been created by lay leaders, individually and through a group process. Some have been affirmed by congressional vote. Others have become a tradition of congressional life through usage. There are evangelical Protestant congregations whose worship is becoming non-creedal. While these congregations may follow a membership intake and formation process that is powerfully creedal, we need to be careful about viewing all of Protestant worship as defined by their creedal platform. The congressionally based United Church of Christ and the Disciples of Christ are covenantal traditions. The Baptist and Pentecostal traditions have never featured creedal confession as a prominent aspect of their worship lives. Instead, these traditions have focused on personal testimony of transformed lives as the best statement for what the church believes and means for its members. Take the Vineyard Community Church near Cincinnati, for example. Their sanctuary is larger than many concert halls. They have high-energy, pop praise music worship ceremonies, even for baptism. Vineyard churches use full immersion baptism in a pool of water built in the chancel area. However, it is not the minister who proclaims the believers baptized and saved. It was the person or people who have been most important in introducing them to the Christian way of life. Their use of digital projection capabilities also make a huge impression. As people are escorted into the pool and immersed, there was an accompanying video in which each spoke about what their conversion and baptism meant to them. Although there was no commonly spoken creed, this congregation believed their lives were transformed by the encounter with the Christ and God they praised. And they held up these testimonials as evidence of both their creed and their covenant. What we fail to do frequently enough in our UU churches is illustrate the power of our covenants with opportunities in worship for members to testify to the difference their membership commitments have made in their lives. The covenants we use in worship are maps of the same territory we cover in our unitarian-universalist purposes and principles, and in our congressional statements of mission and vision. They are liturgical responses to questions about what we are doing when we worship, and why our people come to worship, where we find life's most important salvation meetings, and how we respond to those meetings of worship in daily life. In a paper on style and liberal worship, prepared for the Prairie Group in 2002, Reverend Roy Phillips points out toward 5 meanings around which we make covenant through our worship. Number 1, we share a common human journey, and so we covenant to value what is common among us over what separates and divides us. Number 2, each of us has a unique dignity and gifts, and we covenant to recognize and celebrate the dignity and gifts among us in the common life we share. Number 3, we have a responsibility to envision and create a better world. And so we covenant to support and encourage our individual and common efforts towards its attainment. Despite the mystery that surrounds our ultimate destiny, number 4, as a human race, our lives are worthy of praise, and so we covenant to help each other engage in the mystery of praise. And number 5, religion is a human response to the mysterious otherness we encounter in our lives. And so we covenant to cultivate and explore the religious response among us as a defining and ennobling activity of the human race. We covenant to value our common journey, to recognize and respect our individual dignity and gifts, to support the attainment of a better world, to praise the mystery, and to engage in the practice of religious life. To the UUA encourages any congregation engaging in mission and covenant work that will affect its worship life to explore each of these components, because congregational life is diminished if all 5 are not present. We would also contend that transformative unitarian-universalist worship will find ways to hold up the service stories of how our lives have been changed for the better by being bound by these covenants. The things about covenants is that we don't enter into them because they are easy. One way to know we have entered a covenant is that it is a promise made in a sacred way, and that it is not always easy to keep. In the time we live in, the things we promise in a sacred way will not invite simple answers or solutions. We all have different experiences with giving our word. We have different experiences keeping our word. Giving our word to each other and keeping our word matters a lot right now. Because when surrounded by lies and inconsistency, we have to be able to figure out how we give each other our word and keep that word. Who is watching us for our integrity? That depth of integrity that does not allow us to tell just ourselves what we want to hear. Our children, our families, our co-workers, our neighbors, the folks in our congregations, the communities where our covenant really matters. Do what we say we are going to do. The depth of our relationship lies in keeping our word, breaking it, restoring it with integrity. To have the humility to take responsibility for how we create harm and taking action to repair the harm done. Otherwise, we are just people supposedly in spiritual community with each other, wandering around refusing to meet each other's eyes. When we live and work in covenant within our community, we nourish, fortify, and support our individual and collective visions of the future. What we have covenanted to one another, to our communities, to our children, to the people who have come before and after us, should be worthy of them, of the struggles they have had, the lives they deserve to live, the future that we will require in order to survive and thrive. A covenant is one of the opportunities that we have, but not necessarily the one or only one for us. We have to decide if it is what we will need to help us grow. The covenant is what keeps us stretching our courage wider, our patience further, our commitment longer. When we build relationships inside of covenant, they can go to a different kind of depth. If we are to break the isolation in society that this moment is pushing us towards, it will in part be because we set out to be people of integrity and we kept our word. With this in mind, I would like to submit that we, the members of First Universalist Church of Westfield Center, consider creating a covenant. In most ways, we already act on principles of covenant. This would just give us some goals and dreams of what we could accomplish. I have an example of a covenant that holds us responsible to ourselves, other members, the minister, other church leaders in our community. I ask that you take it home, talk about it, meditate on it, write down your thoughts, and bring them to our congressional meeting on March 5th. We don't have to have one. We can't have one. It can be different. It can be some of the same. It doesn't matter. I'd like everybody to think about it, talk about it, and then we can discuss it further. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say about it now, or any questions they'd like to ask? No? Think about it, take it home. Okay. Please stand, we're going to sing 103.